was no shortage of great crime films in the 1970s. Death Wish, Dirty Harry, Dog Day Afternoon, the list is endless, and has a lot of D words on it for some reason. If the cinema of today will be remembered by historians as the age of superheroes, the cinema of the 70s will be remembered as the age of violence. Guess which age I'm a bigger fan of? Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at the Candy Snatchers from 1973. This is one of my all-time favorite crime films, and I want to talk about it, but I'm not going to spoil any of the fun twists, so if you're looking for those...
You get nothing!
Now just work here.
But of course, we don't have to stay here. You can now support the channel on Patreon and get access to spicy versions of my reviews. Link is in the description. I will say this, the film is dark, twisted, and mean-spirited. It also is perversely funny. Exactly your kind of thing. Let's check it out. We open on a Catholic high school girl. And yes, she will be in trouble.
I understood that reference.
That's Susan Sennett as Candy. We last saw her on the channel in another crime film I rather like, Big Bad Mama. Candy has caught the eyes of these three degenerates. The woman of the trio is Playboy model Tiffany Bolling, who, after doing a spread for them the year before this came out, did a number of exploitation films. She didn't like those films very much, and she hated this film in particular. So she's got pretty bad taste in movies. We can't all be cool. Anyway, here she plays Jessie, who, together with her brother Alan and their partner in crime Eddie, want money. And they don't want to work too hard for it. Maybe they should become landlords. They concoct a plan, kidnap Candy and hold her for ransom. Candy's father manages a jewelry shop and has access to diamonds. They want those diamonds. If that were all the movie had to offer, it would be a typical crime drama, and potentially a good one. But this isn't your typical Hollywood crime drama. This is an exploitation film, and they sometimes go to places Hollywood likes to avoid. After snatching Candy, the three take her to a vacant hill overlooking LA and bury her alive. To help her breathe, they give her a pipe. And this does work, by the way. My wife breathes deep when I give her some pipe. The trio's plan is to not have any direct contact with Candy's father, hence the elaborate burying scheme. They will call him and tell him where to find a map that leads to a drop-off location for the diamonds. And at that location, he'll find another note telling him the whereabouts of his daughter. Not really a bad plan, all things considered. They don't realize, though, that another person knows Candy's location. Sean has been spying and listening the whole time. Unfortunately for Candy, though, Sean is a nonverbal autistic boy. Unfortunately for Sean, he lives with abusive parents who aren't the least bit interested in trying to communicate with him. One thing this movie does very well is filling the story with unlikable characters, each somehow nastier than the last. Kind of like my dating history. In many movies of this type, you'll spend some time with the nasty characters and then the film will hop over to a B story with some nicer people or maybe some comedy so the nastiness doesn't feel so oppressive. Not here. This film goes from sadistic kidnappers to a father who treats his daughter's kidnapping as a business opportunity to parents who beat their small child. This movie wants you to suffer. It's awesome. And often in movies of this type, the suffering is in service of some Act 3 satisfaction. Do you think the two victims in this film will manage to save each other? Maybe. But as you might expect, the kidnapping plan does not go to plan. Do they ever? So Jessie and the gang improvise. They pull Candy out of her shallow grave and record her screaming. This recording they will then send to her stepfather along with an ear. Not one of Candy's, one they buy from the morgue. I didn't know you could do that. And this is where Eddie shows some compassion and takes on a kind of protector role. Maybe there's at least one good guy in all of this. Nope. But that's all you're going to get out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Well, one thing that really makes this movie special is Sean. Watching his story is just as heartbreaking and disturbing as watching Candy's ordeal. And she was buried alive. He tries to help, but he can't talk. His parents ignore and abuse him, but he keeps trying to save Candy. I don't know if he was really a nonverbal autistic boy, but his performance is convincing.
Kid doesn't talk. Who ever heard of a kid who doesn't talk?
But the main highlight is the story, of which Sean is just a part. It clips along at a brisk pace and never fails to be interesting. It's gritty, it's mean, it's darkly funny, it's fantastic. But I suppose it's not perfect. Like a friend tired of being in the friend zone, this film has some shortcomings. Well, I don't really have anything to complain about, but I will say that this film isn't as sleazy in the skin department as some might expect. There is some, sure, I mean, it is a movie from the 70s, after all. But it is not a sexploitation film by any stretch. It also never promised to be, so I wouldn't hold that against it. If you would be disappointed that a crime film dripping with mean-spirited sadism didn't also have tons of nudity, you might be a
sick son of a bitch.